Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex, co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. Wow. Okay. Reaction podcast, I guess you could say. My reaction is basically this. I don't want to believe that game ever happened. I won't remember this game. I've already moved on from this game. I'm already thinking about Cleveland. Arizona is not a football team. They are a nightmare that I have since passed. And here we are, about 10 minutes after the loss, recording this right now. And we have no choice but to break this down and really talk about what went wrong in this game. But after this podcast is done, I'm going to really try and put this out of my brain. I'm going to go to Trader Joe's, and that's the best thing I can think of to do right now to really get my head off this. If you guys have been to Trader Joe's, you know how awesome it is. So that's all I got. I mean, Anthony, how are you feeling after this loss?
Pain. That's all I feel is pain. I'm very sad. I knew this was going to happen, dude. We all went in with extreme amounts of optimism. We were very optimistic as a collective fan base this week. We were very excited and hopeful about this game, and I just knew, be weary of that, because this happens to us sometimes where we all get really excited after a big win, and then our team lets us down, and they let us down. And I gotta say, man, I think a lot went wrong in this game. You said you want to break down what went wrong. I think a lot went wrong, and I think there's too much to really break down. It's going to take multiple days of breaking down. I want to look at the film first before I say too many specifics, but I'll say off the bat, I think that everyone unanimously can agree the offensive line in this game was bad.
I think that's an understatement. They allowed 8 sacks. I would skip bad and go right to atrocious.
Okay, fine. The offensive line was okay. The only reason I said bad and not atrocious, I actually had a reason for that. I didn't want to completely tear the offensive line to shreds. Again, I want to look at the film, rewatch it, see what happened. But the only reason I said bad instead of atrocious is because I do think at least 1 to 2 of those, or maybe even 3 of those sacks, could be contributed to the quarterback. I feel like those quarterbacks held on to the ball a lot longer than they should have. I feel like Jones, you want to blame it on the hamstring, you want to blame it on this or that. I think there was at least 1 or 2 sacks, or at least 1 sack and 1 pressure where he just held on to the ball too long. And I think Colt McCoy had a sack that he took where he held on to the ball for a very long time. Now, I don't know if you want to blame that on the wide receivers for not separating. You want to just say good coverage by Arizona, or you want to say terrible offensive line play mixed with good pass rush by Arizona, or bad quarterback play. There's multiple factors that could go into it. But the baseline, yes, the offensive line did play very poorly in this game. But just to know the specifics of what went wrong, we're going to have to break down the film and see. And I'm sure we're going to make a YouTube video this week about it.
Oh, we sure as hell are, because I can't wait to see who was at fault for 8 sacks. Okay? And not to mention, Daniel Jones fumbled 3 times, so that problem hasn't gone anywhere. But again, this is Jason Garrett. A lot of his conservative play calling, and Anthony tweeted this during the game, and it made a lot of sense to me. If you're going to play a conservative game and you're not going to go 100% with your quarterback, he should not be playing, right? You shouldn't put your quarterback in there and setting him up to fail if he's not 100%. That is what the Giants did in this game. They made a calculated decision, as Joe Judge said after the contest. They made a calculated decision to start Daniel Jones, and it was a terrible one. They were outcoached, they were outplayed, they were outmatched on every single phase. Actually, you know what? I'll take one thing back. I think the defense played a really good game. They were just put in
They're on the field all damn long, all game long.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that for a second. You know what the time of possession difference was? Listen to this. Arizona had 38 minutes of possession compared to Giants 22. 38 minutes, 16-minute difference. 16 minutes the defense was on the field. They were gassed. I can't even believe they only let up 26 points.
And not
Arizona
to mention,
had 22 first downs.
Not to mention that it seems like nearly every single Arizona Cardinals drive started in our territory. Mm-hmm. They had the best field positioning every single time, whether that was from turnovers or if that was from the Giants just not moving the ball on offense and having to punt from within their own 10-yard line. The Cardinals had this whole game handed to them on a silver platter, and the Giants really should feel very poorly about that. And I also want to touch on something that you mentioned, because you said You said that you think the Giants made a poor decision starting Daniel Jones. I do disagree. I think the Giants made the right choice starting Daniel Jones. I think he was healthy enough to get the job done. I think the Giants' game plan babied him and didn't allow him to succeed. When you have the lack of playmakers that we have on this offense, a lack of receiving threats, you cannot baby a quarterback into a game. You have to be aggressive when you have a roster that lacks offensive talent like this. You have to be aggressive. We saw Daniel Jones get aggressive on one play. 2 plays. You know what? 2 plays. One play was a deep shot that got us down to the 1 yard line. The other one was on 3rd and 1, which actually isn't really the time to be that aggressive. I actually liked it, though, because I think Daniel Jones laid a good pass out there for Shepard. I think the hand fighting at the top of the route just wasn't good enough, and that's what caused that ball to go incomplete. Maybe you could say it was slightly overthrown, whatever. Not the most accurate pass. But there was no aggression from this offense. This was just bland, vanilla offense. We were just going to make Daniel Jones a game manager, which everybody and their mothers saw coming. The Cardinals knew that's what was going to happen from the get-go. This offense became predictable. The running game was never established. The passing game was never established because all we did was little short 5-yard routes to just set everything up for Daniel Jones and make him a game manager. And Daniel Jones, I have been saying this all season long. I remember I said this against San Francisco, against the Los Angeles Rams early in the season, even against the Chicago Bears. I said this, and there eventually was a shift somewhere down the line which allowed Daniel Jones to play better, but we've reverted back to making him a game manager, and Daniel Jones is not a game manager, as I've been saying. Daniel Jones is at his best when throwing the ball downfield. He, going into this game, led the NFL in passer rating on 20-plus yard throws. On deep shots, he is extremely accurate. He hits those single coverage, one-on-one throws with extreme consistency. Like, it is, I'm going to make a breakdown video on it about his deep throws because he's been so good on them. But why do the Giants not realize this? Why do we as fans realize this, but the Giants don't? And the Giants get so conservative in their game plan and make him such a game manager where he just throws the ball underneath the whole time. That's why when he holds on to the ball too long, it's because nobody's going deep and stretching the field, and you're not opening anything up in the intermediate 10 to 15 yard passing lanes. Like, you're not opening anything up when you're just playing so conservative. I think Daniel Jones really will not truly thrive until either A, he's just in a way better offensive system, or B, he's given the freedom to roam around, be aggressive, and make plays on his own, and actually toss the ball downfield maybe 5 to 10 times a game, because the 1-2 deep shots, not cutting it.
That's what Patrick Mahomes does in the Chiefs offense. They just throw it behind the coverage and let their speed guys go get it. You know, they do it every week, and it works. I
get that the Giants don't have those speed guys. They don't have the offensive playmakers that the Chiefs have. And, you know, Patrick Mahomes, he's such an otherworldly talent. But the same principle applies that when you take deep shots, the more you take them, the more you make them, right? Like, you can't miss every single one. You're going to hit on a few of them. And when you throw the ball deep, especially when Daniel Jones has been throwing the ball deep so accurately, at the very least, you've got a really good chance of getting a DPI. And you can open up the run game. Yeah, good point. So, you know, there's just a way that teams like to run their offensive schemes, the way that the Giants ran theirs today and did earlier this season, I hated. I think the game plan against Tampa Bay, where they were very aggressive, and Jones had a poor game, okay, but they were very aggressive in that game. I liked that game plan. I liked the game plan against Philadelphia. They had a few deep shots in there. Jones hit on at least 3 or 4, and then against Cincinnati, before he got injured, he already hit on 2 deep bombs. He missed one to Slayton. Slayton maybe just didn't run it down. You know, that was the one that traveled really far. When they're playing that way, the offense is much, much better. But he was injured, so they just decided they were going to baby him and make him a game manager. That's what pissed me off about this game. I do fully blame this, or not fully, but mostly blame this on Jason Garrett and the way he called this game.
Yeah. I mean, you make very valid points, but I will say I don't think that Daniel Jones should have been playing in the first place, and the reason basically is the Giants have to be thinking long term here. They can't be thinking, let's win this week because we just came off a huge win against Seattle. Obviously, you want to keep the momentum, but Daniel Jones was not healthy. He was limping, and obviously that was a reason because he got hit multiple times. He was bent over backwards. He was smacked around a little bit. But the fact is he didn't record a single rushing yard. And that meant one thing to me. That meant that Jason Garrett, like you mentioned, was playing conservative, but he had to axe half his playbook. You know, he couldn't use any RPOs, no zone read. They couldn't keep the defense honest. A linebacker in Hassan Riddick had 5 sacks today, setting a franchise record for Arizona. And that I don't think that happens if Daniel Jones is able to play his game to the max, and he's able to use those RPOs, draw the defense in, play action, really use his strengths to his advantage. And I don't think that they were able to do that, which really hurt their ability. And all Arizona had to do was shut down the Giants' run game and basically just drop back into zone coverage and make Daniel Jones force him to make those throws, and he couldn't make them. He couldn't make those throws all the time. The zone coverage and the man coverage on the outside was really good. Obviously Budda Baker was back there, in the deep secondary, and that was, you don't want a guy like that prowling back there. You never know what's going to happen. Wayne Gallman only touched the ball 12 times in the run game. He averaged 4.8 yards per carry. Why aren't they running the ball more? Why aren't they force-feeding him the ball when he's averaging 4.8 yards per carry? That's my biggest question. They didn't run the ball enough. They also didn't have enough time in possession. So these are all things that go hand in hand. I mean, they allowed DeAndre Hopkins for 136 yards, but behind him, the next guy's 27 yards. They were just force-feeding Hopkins all night because the Giants weren't playing man covers. They were playing a lot of zone. They were just really forcing Kyler Murray to throw the ball. But here's the biggest problem. The Giants' defense lives and dies by the pressure of the front four. And they didn't get any pressure on Kyler Murray today. And when they did, he escaped the pocket and picked up first downs because, like Anthony mentioned throughout the game, their spies were too aggressive and they were being left in the dirt, left behind Kyler Murray. They have to be more contained. They have to be playing more contained and not chasing him. They have to force him back inside, keep forcing Kyler Murray back inside, and make him force those throws because he did it in the first half, and Logan Ryan almost had an interception. They can't let him get to the outside of the tackle box. That's the goal, and they did not do a good job of that. Daniel Jones, in my opinion, did not look great at all. He looked like he was unsure of his decisions. The offensive line was a disaster. This was a complete embarrassment for the Giants across the board, except for, I will say, the defense didn't play as bad as any other unit. But, that was a direct result of the offense and all these turnovers. 3 turnovers for the Giants. Deion Lewis, the special teams, what the hell's going on there? Continue to make bad plays. I think they allowed 12.8 yards per return. Jabril Peppers had a few opportunities to return some punts for yards. Fair catch to all of those. But Deion Lewis gets kicked in the stomach and fumbles. Like, the Giants had Kenny and Drake fumbles 2 times in 5 plays, and the Giants don't recover either of them. And then Logan Ryan drops that interception earlier. You can make the argument that the Giants just had an off day. They don't play like this. We haven't seen them play like this in a long time. And honestly, I'm willing to cough this up as an anomaly because I don't really think that this is what this team is made of. We know this team is better than that. And I think they really just beat themselves today. I think they came in off a big win, thinking they were hot stuff, feeling egotistical, like they were going to walk over the Cardinals, and they got a reality check right in the freaking throat. Right in the chin. They took it right in the chin. And I think this is going to be a big wake-up call. They can't just lay down to opponents because they think they're good. They can't win. This is a big lesson for them, that also these young players who won a big game come, and suddenly they have all this confidence, and then they get smacked in the mouth, and they're like, the NFL isn't easy. This isn't college anymore. You can't beat up on a crappy team and come back the next week and beat up on another crappy team. This is the NFL. You come back, you play Arizona that just lost 3 games in a row, and you get smacked around because you weren't ready. This is what it was a beautiful day. It was a gorgeous day at MetLife. There was no reason for them to play this poorly, and they did. And I think this was mainly a bad coaching game. They were outcoached in every phase.
Yeah, I think coaching was the main problem. I want to say one last thing about Daniel Jones, and then we're going to save it for the rest of the week after we really review the film. I want to say I think we both agree that Daniel Jones shouldn't have started this game, but we agree for different reasons. I think most fans, I think you're included in that, think that Daniel Jones shouldn't have played because he was injured and because we risked re-injuring him, right? I think he shouldn't have played because of Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett decided that he wanted to axe half the playbook, as you mentioned, because he didn't trust Daniel Jones. So if you don't trust him, then you shouldn't play him. I personally think he was healthy enough to run the playbook. Maybe not run the ball himself, but you don't have to. Like, the Giants succeeded for how long with a quarterback who could not run? Like, we're just going to pretend that pocket passing quarterbacks don't exist. Like, Daniel Jones just can't do that. Like, he totally can. But when you just don't trust your quarterback and don't have any faith in him and call a game plan that obviously shows that, then you shouldn't start the quarterback, whether he's healthy or not. And I think he was healthy enough to do it. That's where we disagree, but we both agree that He should not have started that game. And for me, the reason why is what I just said, with Jason Garrett just not trusting him and calling a game plan just to baby him and be super conservative. And then I want to touch on a few things from the defense. I think you mentioned something that I mentioned to you through text during the game. The quarterback spies in this game. We saw the quarterback spies be utilized a lot last week against Seattle. We saw it again this week because it's a similar quarterback, right? Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. But this week, the quarterback spies just did not do their job nearly as well as they did last week. I saw Jabril Peppers had a spy. All he had to do was get to the edge and just stand there and wait. And the Kyler Murray has nowhere to go. Instead, he just crashes through the B gap and lets Kyler Murray run right around the edge. And it's like, well, why did you do that? Like, just keep strafing, keep going to the sideline, just seal off the edge, and he's fine. I saw Carter Coughlin do it as well. They just decided to get very aggressive and crash down, and you cannot do that against a quarterback who legitimately runs a 4.3 something 40. Like, he is far too fast for that. He's far too smart for that as well. You just can't crash like that. You have to be patient. You have to stay true to your job. Just hold true in your position, and then wait for the quarterback to get there, and only crash when you know that you can or know that you have to. Quarterback spies didn't do their job in this game, but you know what? The defense was the least of the problems. I actually feel really bad for the defense this week. I think there were some solid performances on the defensive side of the ball. I think Jabril Peppers, for the most part, played a really good game. I think he had a lot of impact plays. He had a lot of nice tackles for loss. Carter Coughlin, I think, was a little streaky. He had a lot of great plays. He had a lot of bad plays mixed in. Overall, I think the secondary kind of struggled. I don't know if it was because of the zone defense oftentimes or what happened. Again, we'll look at the film. But, I think they struggled as well. DeAndre Hopkins had a great game, and Kyler Murray threw for nearly 300 yards. But, like I said, I feel very bad for this defense. They had their backs up against the wall the entire game. Arizona had the ball in our territory pretty much the whole game. And the time of the possession, the way that the Giants offense just did not help the defense out at all. And they were on the field way too much. So I just feel bad for the defense in all honesty.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think the defense is the one unit that I'm not willing to throw under the bus for this. They did play well. They held the Cardinals as long as they possibly could until they were just simply gassed. What more can you do? They're human beings. They got tired, and you're going to get beat when you get tired when all these different factors are being in play. But you know what? I was trying to come to Jason Garrett's defense the past couple days and say that he's making progress. But after this performance, I'm really on edge about him. I'm really, really close to saying that they might want to look elsewhere this season for a new coordinator, because I simply, what he's been doing when they don't have Daniel Jones healthy enough or whatever it might be, he's not scheming guys open. The routes are just poor. The third down conversions are bad. There's a lot of different main things you need from your offensive coordinator that he's just not doing well enough. And I think, Dre Kirkpatrick is not a good cornerback this year, and they barely attacked him. Darius Slayton opened the game with a couple nice completions, and then they stopped targeting him. The offensive line didn't do a good job. So what do you do in that scenario? You try, if you're getting beat around the edges, you try and run it up the middle. You try and do things to create space in the A and B gaps because they were dominating on the edges. You have to do things to try and supplement these weaknesses, open the field up, stretch the field. And Jason Garrett did nothing that said to me that he has any idea what's going on in the middle of a game. None of these in-game adjustments were told me and taught me, that I should have faith in him. That's something we've seen all year. Even when Daniel Jones was playing well, the Giants weren't averaging over 30 points a game. They're not playing at a high level. They're still one of the worst offenses in the league, right next to the New York Jets. Think about that. You can't justify anything with Jason Garrett after that performance, and even with Daniel Jones in the game. It's sad, and the offensive lines played such a big part in that. And what they did today was where the hell did that come from? One of our buddies told us, he's a big draft guy. Really, he's worked in the draft for years and years and years. And he said to me, the Giants have some good pieces on offense and defense, especially the offensive line, some good young pieces, but they don't have any freak athletes, right? They were outmatched. The NFL is a mismatched league, and they were simply outmatched because Arizona has freak athletes like Isaiah Simmons, Hassan Reddick, ridiculous Buda Baker. These guys are freak athletes. The Giants don't have anyone on offense like that. Maybe Evan Ingram, but he's so polarizing. Right. They don't have very guys like that. So Exactly. So they were just mismatched, and they were outcoached and outgunned at every angle except for defense, in my opinion. And I think, honestly, if the offense even plays average, they put up 20 points, they win that game. And I think the defense looks like heroes again. I don't think D-Hop goes over 100 yards. If they don't fumble the ball 5 times, the Giants are in a decent spot in this game. The turnovers, again, killing them. And, it's still a problem. Clearly, it's not going away. And Anthony, did I not tell you this week? Multiple times, Daniel Jones is a momentum-based quarterback, and he lost all of his momentum last week with missing that game, and he looked terrible today. All of his problems came back today.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I do think he's momentum-based, and I think that week off was detrimental to him. I think that it really killed his momentum. I think it put a lot of rust on him. I think he was very rusty early on in this game, and he just wasn't comfortable. I think the game was moving too fast for him. And maybe that's why Garrett decided to simplify the game plan, but I don't know. I've harped on it enough, man. And you mentioned Garrett's future with the Giants. I did come to his defense recently. I did say that I was pretty supportive of him because I thought that he really made a shift from early in the season till now. But now I'm seeing something that is completely different. I thought that maybe he was just trying to figure out what he had in the team, and then once he figured it out, he implemented his full game plan. Now I'm seeing that he just has a very inconsistent game plan, I think. I think it's just very inconsistent. And we need consistency on offense, especially when you do not have those athletic speedsters like you're mentioning. When you don't have that, you have to have a consistently good offensive game plan, and we just don't. And I think that's what killed us in this one. I think it's killed us a few times this season, and I think if the Giants don't get a hold on it, it will continue to kill us. And if the Giants do not get a hold on it soon, they should absolutely consider moving on from Jason Garrett in the offseason because of performances like this one, which is not the first time we've seen a performance like this from his offense.
Yep. And all the Dallas fans in my mentions right now are all saying, we know exactly how you feel. We know what it's like for you to throw a bomb on 3rd and 1 in your own end zone. We know what he does. And, I got to say, I'm very close to kind of admitting that he might be a liability, or he is a liability. So, this is what we have to work with this week. We're going to be looking at the offense, the offensive line, Daniel Jones, some of the decisions that were made, and really breaking down some individual film to give you guys an idea of what really went on in this game. And then we will move on from this, and we will hopefully put up a better performance against Cleveland. Hopefully Daniel Jones didn't re-injure his hamstring enough that he's not able to play next week. But look,
we're on to Cleveland.
I'm coughing this up as an anomaly because I think this is the worst game we played all year. Even when it's been bad earlier on in the season, I think this is the worst game we played, even worse than the 49ers game. This is where we are, though. This is what we have to deal with. I think the young guys on this team just got caught up in winning a big one, and this is what happens when you get a reality checked in the NFL. It does not come pretty. Anyway, I thank you guys for your support. As always, we'll be doing some more live streams this week. Maybe we'll do a live film breakdown. We'll see if we can work that one out. But Anthony, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, last words, I'll just say, Giants fans, this sucks. This is painful, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, and this is really disappointing. But you know what? Let's just keep our head up. Let's not get too rattled by this. We've got another big game coming up next week. We're going to, of course, review the film and take a look at what happened this last week. But really the mentality is for the Giants and for us, we just got to beat Cleveland, take it one game at a time, 1 week at a time. We can't look too far ahead. I think a lot of fans were. I think we were getting very excited with playoff aspirations. Rightfully so. Me too. But you know what? Let's just take it 1 week at a time. You never know, dude. Yeah, we lost this one, but we could beat Cleveland. We could lose to Cleveland. Let's just take it one game at a time, and we'll see what happens. But, of course, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we appreciate the support. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell so you don't miss a video because YouTube doesn't like to put our videos in sub boxes sometimes. So make sure you ring the bell and leave a like if you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, and go Giants.